Hello and welcome everyone to today's event, Traveling in 2021, Shoot Me Already. My name is Lorena and my role for today will be to moderate this live experience for you, whether you are at home, in the office or on the road. I hope you're all having a great day. It was sunny so far in Brussels. I hope it's sunny wherever you are and that you're ready to get started. First of all, I would remind you a bit of the Young Professional Network. This is an initiative launched by SMP with the purpose to support young people, to encourage them to voice out their opinions and ideas and put forward sustainable activities. We organize regular events, hopefully more physically in the future, but online will still be the trend this year. Now, I would quickly want to go through this platform. We have a special platform using today for this event. We partnered with locals for teams who developed this incredible platform to facilitate and deliver engaging and interactive events. So thank you once more with locals. We are very happy that you are part of this event, and I hope you, the audience, the participate, will enjoy as much as we did preparing this webinar. So without any further delay, let's go through this platform. So to the right of your screen, you may have already noticed a chat window. I see that some people maybe have already started to post there, one of my colleagues. So throughout the event, if you have any questions or comments, or just you want to suggest something, an idea, just put them or these thoughts in the chat, and we'll make sure to get to them whenever possible. If you see a question that you really like and you want to make sure it gets picked by us, please let us know by clicking the thumb up button next to the question or comment. We will try to get as many questions as possible because, again, this event is interactive, is for you, so we want to discuss with you and we want to involve you as much as possible. But there are not only questions for you, by you, but also for you. So these questions will come up, pop up on your screen in the form of polls. So you can choose or pick your answer, and then you can hit your preferred option and let us know what your thoughts are. This will come a bit later though, so you'll have to wait a bit. Then there is something else. So the content. If you feel that you like what you're seeing and that you're really enjoying it, you can hit the like button just below the stream. It's a button with a heart icon, and this will let us know that you're really enjoying the show. If you want, you can hit that button now, and you see what happens. You can also find there the Twitter and LinkedIn buttons below the stream. If you click on those, you will share directly with your network, and you will let them know that you are attending this very cool and interesting event. All in all, we want this experience for you to be very interactive. So we have also prepared 3 breakout rooms. If you stay with us throughout the event, you will discover the names of these breakout rooms, the funny things we have prepared for you, and also there you will have the possibility to actually interact with us, to discuss. So if you're in your pajamas, please be aware that for the breakout rooms, we will actually be able to see you and all the other participants. I also have 2 very special guests with me today. They are here, and I would like to invite them. We have Christina from the Travel Agents and Tour Operator Associations, and we have Peggy from With Locals. She is the Sustainable Manager, and Christina, she is the Deputy Secretary General. Welcome, and I'm very happy to have you here, and I'm sure the audience will be thrilled to hear your expertise. We also invited them to talk about themselves a bit and how this could be inspiring for young professionals. But don't forget that we have a topic, and we should stay on the topic, which is traveling this summer, and also what are the EU legislations, measures to facilitate that for their citizens. And how should we start best? And with a poll, something interactive. the first one should come up immediately. Just okay, so you have time to answer the questions. Choose wisely your answer because this might have an influence for the breakout room afterwards. Okay, thank you very much. This was really fun to see all the answers, and we will come back to that later in the breakout rooms. And now I would like to give the floor to Christina. Welcome, Christina. I know you have prepared a presentation for us and that you are ready to walk us through the measures that the EU will have for us prepared this summer.
Well, thank you very much, Lorena. Sorry. Okay. Thank you very much, Lorena, and thank you also for the invitation to come and speak to your network. So yes, I'm Christina. I'm Deputy Secretary General of ECTA, the European Association of Travel Agents and Tour Operators. That is an organization that represents basically the interest of the tourism sector within the EU. And also at international level. So we really try to promote travel and tourism. I have started, so very briefly about me, I've started working for ECTA some 20 years ago, so I'm not quite that young anymore. I actually came into ECTA by coincidence because I had the language skills for lobbying. You need to interact a lot with other people, a lot of different nationalities. So with my English, German, French, and a little bit of Dutch, I guess they thought I was a good candidate. And it is a really, really fun job, lobbying in the tourism industry. And yes, it is a very vibrant industry, except for in COVID pandemic situation. It's an industry that generates nearly 10% of EU GDP and much more in certain countries. And it's also an industry that employs a lot of people, some 22 million people in Europe. Especially young people. And what is good about working in the travel industry is that you see a number of CEOs that are working for large companies that have started at the bottom of the ladder in the tourism industry. So there are real career opportunities in travel and tourism industry. So yes, very fun industry at the moment, really, really tough. But I'm sure as soon as we get over the summer, as the vaccinations are rolled out, I'm sure it's going to get better. So let me start with a presentation. Yes, I've been invited to ask to present a little bit the travel measures that have been adopted at EU level. So you know that the free movement of people and goods is an essential cornerstone of the EU citizenship. But of course, now with the pandemic, we have a number of member states have introduced travel restrictions, and they're allowed to do so in order to protect public health. And so, what the result was, of course, all the member states, they went into lockdown, they closed borders, they banned or suspended flights in a very, very uncoordinated manner. It led to absolute chaos. And so end of last year, the member states decided to coordinate travel restrictions. And that basically led to a common color-coded map of risk areas and also a common framework for travel measures. So if we can go to the next slide. So this is how the color-coded map of risk areas looks like. It's prepared by the ECDC, the European, what is it again? Center for Control Disease Prevention and Control. And basically the areas or regions in Europe are classified into 4 risk areas. Green meaning the circulation of COVID is relatively low, so the low risk, going all the way up to dark red, very high risk, with also the variants which are much more infectious. So yeah, a couple of weeks ago, that map was completely red, even dark red, and we now see that the situation is improving all over Europe. Next slide. And so yes, the member states have agreed to coordinate travel restrictions, so they have made recommendations. For the moment, all non-essential travel to red and dark red areas should be discouraged. And when you look at the map, that's quite a lot. The free movement of persons traveling to or from green areas should not be restricted. And the entry of to persons traveling, from red areas should not be refused, but they could require persons traveling from non-green areas to undergo quarantine and or be subject to a test prior or after arrival. And then there are a number of other recommendations, but basically these are the coordinated travel measures adopted at EU level. So next page, please. Looks all good, right? You'd think. But when you look in practice, it's quite different because you know that the member states are responsible for the travel restrictions. So instead of following the ECDC risk area map, some of the countries have actually developed their own classification of risk areas, and they have adopted travel restrictions that are very, very different from one country to another. I'm thinking of different test requirements. Some accept PCR, some antigen tests. Some require quarantine, self-isolation. Some will lift the quarantine after 1, 3, 5, 7 days. You have different test requirements for children. You have different requirements for transit passengers. It is a real patchwork of travel restrictions within the EU. And of course, for all us traveling people, it is a nightmare to find our ways through this patchwork. And it's not very conducive to traveling this summer. And then there's, of course, the problem that these travel restrictions can change at very short notice. We've seen it last summer. Some destinations were open and closed within 48 hours. That's not only for the destination, but also when you come home, because then you can suddenly find yourself with a quarantine requirement. And of course, the impact of changing travel restrictions, what happens to your travel arrangements? Will you be able to get a refund? For example, we've seen last year that while certain destinations went into red, the airline still flew, which means that, well, you can't fly, but the airline is flying, so you don't get a refund. So there are a lot of questions around that as well. Next slide. Very good news. Last week, the EU institutions found an agreement on the digital COVID certificate. That's great. That's in a record time of 2 months, never seen before. Basically, the COVID certificate provides proof that a person has either been vaccinated or has a negative test result or has recovered from COVID-19. That really should facilitate the free movement of people traveling in the EU. And of course, it's based on the principle of mutual recognition of certificates. So if a certificate has been issued by another member state, then this should be good to travel in to other countries. There's something on the screen, so I can't really read what I wrote there. But member states should refrain from imposing additional travel restrictions unless they are proportionate and necessary to safeguard public health. And then there are a number of other points that have been agreed upon. So it is possible to travel with PCR or rapid antigen tests. The tests should ideally be affordable, and actually the EU is putting money for that for member states to subsidize the tests. So very good news, this legal framework should be adopted and available or applicable in time for the 1st of July for us to travel this summer. And of course, the technical framework is under construction in the background, but that's maybe less important here to know. So you think again, all's great, all's good, we are good to go to travel this summer, but we have to remember that the COVID certificate is only a proof it's not actually a waiver of travel restrictions. So member states can still impose travel restrictions and they can be introduced at very short notice. We have a 6-week transition period, so some member states might not be ready for the 1st of July, so this can run all the way into mid of August. This is way into our summer vacation. Big problem also is the verification of the certificates. We hear the airlines say that even if you verify a common certificate, it takes up to a minute at the airport to verify that actually that person is allowed to travel with such a test or needs another test. And then also to check the PLF, the passenger locator form. So there can be queues at the airport. And of course, the airlines would like to do this verification upfront at the online check-in. So that's something that we are working on at the moment. And then we also have to see whether that certificate is useful for travel, not only within the EU, but also outside. So whether it's interoperable at international level. And then I would like to raise awareness about the price of tests. Be careful because the price of tests vary very much within the EU. So if you can just put the next slide. And here you have some information about the PCR test, the price of PCR tests from private laboratories in some of the countries, and they can vary quite a lot, going in Spain to 240. I heard Finland as well. Now imagine a family with 2 kids, that will quickly make travel very expensive, going out and then possibly coming back again. Next slide. I don't know whether I am extending my time, so very quickly, just the case of Belgium, how it looks for traveling this summer within the EU. So Belgium is quite restrictive. You've seen in the Easter, the Belgian government has imposed a travel ban for non-essential travel, and that's it's not at all in line with the recommendations of the EU to impose only proportionate, temporary and non-discriminatory travel restrictions. So yes, Belgium went on its own in this way. And if you look at the risk areas identified by Belgium, you will see that still just about the whole of Europe is red. Which means that when you want to travel, when you want to come home, you still have a requirement to quarantine and take a test on days 1 and 7. So that's quite restrictive compared to other countries. And of course, you must not forget that you have a passenger locator form to complete when you travel from Belgium. And finally, the next slide, very briefly, if you wanted to travel outside of the EU, for Belgium, there are only a number of countries which are considered to be green or orange, and these are the ones that I've listed here on the slides. But don't forget that for many of these destinations, actually the Belgians are not welcome. So you will have to again look at the travel restrictions very, very, very carefully. And so yes, I think at one of the slides I showed there's a good website that provides information if you wanted to. Exactly, thank you. Always check travel restrictions before and during your trip. And here's the website, Reopen Europe. And there you will find information if you travel from a country to another country, also about information about transit passengers and traveling with children. So that's my suggestion for you for this summer if you want to travel. Thank you. And if you have any questions, please do answer them.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Christina, for this thorough picture. I think you have everything you need to know for traveling this summer. Very useful information. Indeed, lots of controversy around the pricing of on the tests, but also the different restrictions. I know we live in Belgium, in Brussels, and I know that indeed when choosing a country to visit without quarantine, your options are quite limited. I do like, though, the glitters of hope that you were spreading throughout your presentation. I'm a bit of an optimist, so I would like to take that in consideration and hope that for the summer we will be able to travel a bit more, that our options are broader, and that of course we can afford traveling with a family, and that we are also paying attention to safety measures, and that we of course work together to fight this COVID pandemic. But this will make my introduction to Peggy a bit more easier, because even in the worst case scenario, so you won't be able to travel, there are still options. You can still relax, you can still enjoy a nice summer, and she will be able to present us with alternative ways of traveling and enjoying your free time. So Peggy, whenever you want, you have the floor.
Thank you, Christina and Lorena. So just sharing my presentation now. So yes, I am Peggy, here to speak at the Young Professional Network. I am young and debatably professional as well. So yeah, a little bit of a background on myself. I'm originally from Scotland, but luckily for you, I don't have such a strong accent, so hopefully you can understand everything that I'm saying through this presentation. And yeah, a little bit on what Christina is saying about traveling. I haven't been back in Scotland in 1.5 years now because of the pandemic, so it's pretty hard. And looking at the prices of the COVID tests in UK, maybe I'd still need to wait a little while longer. So I'm here to talk about with locals and around about how we've been reacting during these times. We're a startup. So just before that, I'll give you a little bit of background on myself and how I kind of got into tourism. So go back around about 10 years ago, finishing school, had no idea what I wanted to do, was a bit of a lost person, so decided to go backpacking for a while. I went to Australia and managed to kind of get a traveling job for 6 months. And that saved me enough money for the next 6 months to go with my backpack around Asia. And that's when I realized, yep, this is what I want to do. I want to somehow be in this thing because this is great. So then I decided to go and study business management and tourism, which I did in Scotland. But for 2 of the 4 years, I managed to not live in Scotland. So I did my study abroad in Vancouver, Canada. And I went to this kind of hippie university where all of the buildings were named after trees. And the whole curriculum was around about sustainability, whatever subject you were doing. And that's where I really realized how important sustainability is and how great it is to work in something that's really actively trying to do something to make the world a better place. So after that, I put my 2 passions together, sustainability and tourism, and I got a 1-year internship in Santiago de Chile, working for a company called La Bicicleta Verde, which the green bicycle. So it was a tourism company that focused on city bike tours and also wine and bike tours. And yes, this is a great combination, wine and biking. That's a great market to be in. And then I really was sure then that I was so happy to work in tourism. You know, it was also a startup. The people in the office were all so fun and nice. And in the end, I felt like I was like selling happiness. And what better industry to be in when you're working in happiness. So after university, then I felt like I had no boundaries, you know, of where I could work because I've lived in a few different places. So the world was my oyster, and that's where I found with locals through a Facebook page that some friends had liked. and they were actually looking for a happiness manager. That sounds great, right? Which is actually customer service, but still. So yeah, I took myself over to the Netherlands and became a happiness manager. But then just after a few months, I got my real dream job, which was a rollout manager. So for 3 years, I worked on expanding with locals around the world. So I was traveling around and opening up our tours and experiences in different cities across the world. So designing the tours with local experts and also training other hosts on how to do the experiences and get them on board, all about with locals and our culture and who we are. So that was for 3 years. And then, of course, Corona came and changed our lives completely. So, of course, traveling was no longer an option. And with locals took a step back and looked at really what they want to be in the future. And one of the key things was being kind of a sustainable company and really pushing towards that. So they were in the market for a sustainability manager. Hello. So yeah, I think a lot of people had a bad luck for their work and everything, but I was very happy to get this position. And now I'm working to try to get with locals to be a complete, legitimate sustainable company. So with locals, who are we? With locals started around about 7 years ago with the idea of connecting local people with global travelers in a very authentic way. So it actually started with our founder, Willem, who was is also a big traveler, and he was traveling around Southeast Asia with his backpack, going through having all these amazing experiences. But he really saw with the local guides, they were working their asses off. You know, they were taking the tourist backpack up mountains and working really hard, and they all work for tour operators. So the money all went to the tour operators, and the guides that were really putting the hard work in just saw a little bit of this. And he thought, hey, I want to make a place for the tourists to be in direct touch with the guide so they can, you know, create something together. So that's where he made With Locals, which is a marketplace and a platform for local people to be able to advertise themselves and their experiences and be in direct touch with the traveler. So we create curated experiences. We work with the host to really create amazing things so that we're always delivering the best quality tours. So a little word on sustainability and with locals. We are kind of innately an ethical company without really, you know, trying to at the beginning, because our whole purpose was to give a fair wage to local guides. And also we work with 100% private experiences right now. So it's always small group numbers, the average size being 3 to 4 people. So it really avoids this whole over-tourism problem. And also we really work with the local experts and educate through real cultural, authentic experiences, often trying to go off the beaten track and purposely trying to put inclusions in the tour for local businesses, really keeping the money circulating in the local economies and not just going to kind of the larger companies. But as I mentioned, we wanted to focus more on sustainability and kind of put our policies in place and see what we can do to really wave that flag and be a role model for the rest of the industry and see what we can do. So we partnered up with B Corporation and also Travel Life, which are certification bodies, which kind of review all our processes and policies, and hopefully we can get that stamp that says we are a sustainable tour company moving forward. So we're already working on that. And as of this year, we have also set up a carbon offsetting program so that we are fully carbon neutral for all of our tours. So that's the first step, but a lot more to go. And of course, sustainability is an ongoing process. You're never there. You're always working to improve. So now I'm going to let you guys know a little bit about what we've been doing during the pandemic. it seemed for a long time there that it was really every week another tourism company was closing its doors. Of course, it's a very hard industry, maybe the hardest to be in during these times. But we're a startup and we're used to making fast decisions, adapting and changing. That's what we do. So we started with kind of locals for locals. So we wanted to create experiences for people to travel closer to home, maybe to a neighboring city or a neighboring country, and put on experiences that were more kind of workshops and these kind of things, not just on the culture. So that was going a little bit steadily, but then of course, rules kept changing. You can no longer meet people. You cannot go into someone's house. You cannot do this. So it was very hard to keep up with all of these changes. So then we focused on our online experiences. So we started that. The IT team created the program you're seeing just now, and also Club, which allows us to do loads of things for online experiences. The initial idea was to kind of get families and friends connected and together around the world to enjoy these amazing experiences. And we have over 1,000 hosts that have so much different kind of skills and things to share. So we have, cooking classes, music workshops, city tours, history experts, you name it. We have already so much to offer. And then from that, we started to see interest in companies wanting to do these kind of experiences. I think probably a lot of you guys know yourselves, it's very hard to keep the company culture alive during these pandemic times. So we started to kind of allow businesses to come and work together to make experiences for them. So team building, quizzes, workshops, we can put anything together for these companies. And as you can see, some of the big names, we've already done experiences for them. And it's something that we see now that things are never going to be the same again. And working from home is a new reality. And this is something that we're really good at with our experts. So this is what we're going to continue to do in the future. So speaking of the future, what's next? So we do really want to keep these online experiences that I mentioned, but still a big part of our core is the live experiences. And we do see gradually that bookings are going up there, specifically in Europe. Nothing like 2019 times, but we do see the trends as countries start to open. That's where the bookings start to go up as well. So it's really positive, and we do think when people can travel, they will be desperate to get out the door and do so. So we're going to be focusing now on two main things: our live experiences and our online experiences, and overall focusing on sustainability and kind of being a role model in the market to create very ethical and sustainable experiences. Hopefully there was not too much echo. I saw some issues there that you could hear me.
I heard you very well, but I think there were indeed some issues. I think they're gone now. Thank you very much, Peggy. Very interesting, and I really love your passion and your, track record. I would have loved to study in Santiago de Chile. I've been there on holiday, but or work there. But I think it's an amazing place, and I don't mention Vancouver. That's my favorite place on earth. I would accept a job there anytime. I would move there immediately. So thanks a lot for your experience also with locals. Thank you for your support again with this webinar. I would like to encourage now the audience and the people watching us to really voice out their questions or ideas. We have two amazing professionals with us with a lot of experience. So if you want to shout out your question, this is the right moment to do it. I already have a few for you. A first, let's say, collection. Christina, I have 3 for you. I will start with the first one. The first one would be like, is it clear which member states are going to be ready beginning of July and which are going to still be in transition? Do you have any idea on that?
No, I know that the digital certificate has been tested by some 18 countries. I don't know all the names of these countries, but I think a lot of member states will be ready, and you can be sure about the southern countries being ready. I mean, many of those markets have already opened tourism. And so you can be sure that they will be at the forefront of accepting and obviously probably also issuing those certificates.
Yeah, we also know that France has already had a QR app, and that also Croatia has rolled out some tests, and they are ready to start. Ireland as well. So there are some rumors. Let's hope all of them will be ready at some point this summer. So thanks a lot. The next question will be more about Belgium. So this person is asking if there's actually any hope that Belgium's regulation will change before summer.
Okay, now you ask me to look into the crystal ball, and unfortunately I don't. Unfortunately, our current government is quite, let's say, cautious. You've seen what they've done at Easter. I think we were one of the countries which actually had a travel ban. So let's see. I think we're quite good in terms of vaccination, the rollout of the vaccination. We're not top of the class, but we're good. So I think as this vaccinations are rolled out, I think that these lockdown measures are being now slowly also rolled back, and we could probably also see travel restrictions being modified. But again, I wouldn't know when, and yeah.
It's just a guess or a personal opinion, but it's more from your view of an expert. What do you expect from Belgium? Now, Belgium can decide to do everything according to the plan, or it could still amaze us. Let's hope in a good way.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Christina. Then the last question would be, do you think the digital green certificate will be actually recognized internationally?
Yes, so we hope, yes. The EU is obviously not working in a silo. It is being developed at international level. But we are spearheading in this. We have really developed a system that ensures that we can that the member states can really verify the authenticity of the certificates. It's quite elaborate. I'm not quite sure the other regions and countries in the world will have such an elaborate system. I know in the US, for example, you have already vaccination certificates, but they come in paper format, and they're certainly not digitalized in any kind of form. So it's going to be quite challenging. I know that the Commission will also have kind of they will assess which countries' certificates will be acceptable. So that's all in work in progress, but it's very much still in the future. For the moment, we are looking at traveling in Europe, and then also outside. But let's see if we can receive any tourists from other countries based on these very elaborate digital COVID certificate.
Yeah, and I think the upcoming weeks and days are quite crucial to see what it will be decided, also regarding traveling from outside the EU, but also how the digital green certificate would actually be put in place. Thanks, Christina. This was a first batch of questions. I'm going now to Peggy, and I have a few questions for you as well. First of all, what are the offers with locals in the EU right now?
In the offers in Europe?
Yes.
In terms of experiences?
Yes.
So for the online experiences, you can take tours from anywhere, right? Because it's worldwide, so you can have a host from Japan or somewhere in South America. We have amazing cooking classes from Peru, for example, and there's a lot in Europe as well. It is where our main experiences are. So for online in Italy, it's very good for kind of cooking experiences and these kind of things, and also kind of to get to know about the history. There's a lot of cities and countries that we're running in across Europe. Also in Brussels, we have experiences as well. And in terms of cities that start to open up for live experiences, to name a few in Europe, Athens is kind of going up. Istanbul, Valencia, Palma de Mallorca, Venice, also Brussels is starting to open a little bit for experiences in person. We are open in 62 cities across the world, so it's hard to go through them all. But basically, where the rules are getting a little bit more lenient, tours are running. Also, Australia is going better if you can kind of get over there and get back as well.
Thanks, Peggy. And also for this physical, so you mentioned a list of cities and places that are opening up. How are you keeping up with the COVID safety measures? Do you have a plan that everyone is following? How are you ensuring that the experiences with you are safe from this point of view?
Yeah, so at the beginning, it was very difficult. We were, as things were coming up per country, we were always adapting the rules. Sometimes the group numbers had to be smaller, some bigger. We were trying to manage it destination by destination, and now we've more left it into the hands of the host. We have a lot of information on the website for the host and guests, how they can carry out tours sustainably. For the most part, masks are still used for the experiences, especially for attractions inside. And also we really specialize in food tours. So we have quite some rules there. The hosts should always have hand sanitizer with them. And often we're very careful to make sure that everyone gets their individual portions. Although we do work with private experiences, so the group already knows each other. So it's mostly the safety of the host with the group, and they're careful to kind of keep their distance and everything like this. But as we hear the tours are going well now, that the bookings are going up with the host, and they're not having much struggles with the kind of interacting. And of course, some cities, if there's very little corona and there's no rules for masks in the street, maybe they would do something differently than another city that's like, yeah, you have to wear masks outside and on the street. So we really have to put our trust also in the host and the instructions that we give them to carry out the tours in relation to their local regulations.
Yes, thank you. Very interesting. But I think it also depends on the attitude of the tourists and the people that would like to go through this kind of experiences. They are a bit, let's say, more obedient, and they would like to make everything better, for actually having this kind of experience. So to enjoy that, I think they are ready to accept this kind of rules and small requirements.
Exactly. And because we are running, we have over 1,000 hosts, 62 cities, we cannot micromanage every little thing that happens in the tours. So we have a very high review rate. We have amazing hosts that really know what we're doing. So we put the trust in them, and the guests, always make sure how the guest feels, how safety conscious they are, and the host, and to work it out together. And always we have happy guests. So we guess it's working well so far.
And maybe a question from me: How is the spirit among the hosts? Do they feel optimistic? That they are retaking their activities this summer?
Yeah, well, I think we have a very good relationship with our hosts as well, because we were really trying, to do what we can for them. This whole business to business kind of experiences, we're really to try to get our hosts work as much as possible, and we're really looking to do that. So I think a lot of times they're very grateful and patient with us, and thankful that we're working with them. But also there is a concern, a lot of emails coming in, really asking us, when is the market coming up? When are the bookings coming in? And as Christina mentioned, like, it's a crystal ball, right? We cannot make any promises to them because we just don't know. There's a variant that could change everything, or maybe the vaccine comes and everything's fine. So there is concern, but we thought maybe a lot of the guides would just go offline and find another thing, but they stayed for the most part, and they're really enthusiastic to start again, and they're kind of very loyal and love the industry that they're in. So they're optimistic, but a little bit worried as well.
Thanks, Peggy. I think it is, and no one really knows, because this is an unknown territory for most of us. So we just have to deal with the moment and try to make the best out of it. I have another question, this time for Christina. This comes from Mihaela. So she's asking if you have some examples from the travel industry in terms of preparing new things, innovating things during the pandemic.
Okay, that's a difficult question. I think the pandemic has, you all know that travel and tourism has been one of the most badly hit ecosystems we have been most affected, and the majority of companies had to put their staff in furlough, or even made them redundant. Unfortunately, we have lost a lot of employees, and it's going to be very, very difficult to get them back. But so in terms of innovation, I think there's a lot of talk about building back better. The recovery is a real opportunity for rethinking travel and tourism. And I'm really, really, really pleased to hear you, Peggy, because I just saw in your presentation, you're a Travelife certified partner, I think. Is Travelife, or getting there at least?
Yeah, get on the road.
Yes. So sustainability is certainly something that we have to integrate into our into the travel and tourism industry. I think there's already a lot being done. But we travel agents and tour operators can do much, much more, because they actually advise consumers what they should do. So I think there's a lot of things happening in that area. And of course, in terms of digitalization, there's been a lot done there as well, because everything, is now contactless. You need to, payments, bookings, everything is done basically online or contactless. So yeah, there has been a lot of innovation in a very, very, very short time. Just as you've also seen in your businesses, because everybody from one day to another has stopped seeing each other physically and gone online. These Zoom and webinars, they're popping up everywhere. So we have adapted very, very quickly to that as well. But it is high time, really high time, that we get out of it and we really start traveling properly and help the businesses resume, yes.
Thanks, Christina. I hope Mihaela is satisfied with this answer, because I am. Thanks a lot. I'm going now to Peggy. I have two questions. One is a bit more special, and one is, I think, very interesting. So the first one, someone is asking if you already know how you will combine your digital offer with the old way of traveling.
I'm not sure that there's so much in the way of that so far. I think they're kind of two separate things. We are looking at options that people can have a taster, so they can already get to know their host. Say you have Gabriel in Rome, and you have a food tour booked with him, but maybe you already want to meet him online, so he can first do a cooking class in introduce the basics of the Roman culture, and then afterwards you'll be able to actually go and meet him in person, or even vice versa. If you had a great time with him and did an experience, then you don't have to say, okay, that's done forever. Then you can go online and say that I would like to do another experience with him, a workshop or something like this. So there's definitely opportunities there. The problem is right now it's so hard to test things, like if this is going to work, because the bookings are so low for the in-person experiences, when we all, you know, part of our thing is always to test and try and see how the bookings go and adapt to new products or things that we do. And right now, we don't really know if this is something people want until the bookings go up.
Yeah, thanks, Peggy. I think it's interesting indeed to see once we can go back to our normal way of traveling, if we are still going to fancy some online activities, no matter, you know, the fact that we are open to visit some places in person. So I think it will be a mixture, maybe until the end of the year or even next year.
Yeah, indeed, we do see on the demand side. Before, we were focusing on, you know, just people and families and things like that. And then when we move towards companies now, companies are much more interested in this product, because that's what we see staying. I think when people are allowed to travel again, they're going to opt much more for the live experiences. But with the home office thing, I think to be able to connect with your colleagues, that's where the online experiences is still going to get a lot of action.
Thanks. Yeah, indeed, a very good clarification. I also have this question for you regarding furry friends, so animals. Do you have any activities for people traveling with their special friends?
Okay. I think the answer is no. We don't really have any thing in place for that. We do have some pictures of tours that happen when people brought their dog along. And I think by nature, a lot of our tours are kind of city walks for a few hours. So very possible to bring your furry friend along, depending on what your furry friend is. If it's a giraffe, probably not, but a dog, then yes. But interesting question. Not really looked into that yet.
Maybe something new to develop with locals in the future.
Everyone has a dog now, right? Since the pandemic. So maybe it's a good thing to look into.
Exactly. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Christina. Thanks, Peggy. We still have some other questions, but I think it's the right moment to go now to the breakout room. So for our audiences, you will be able to see 3 breakout rooms. Christina, Peggy, and myself will be in one of them. So choose the one that you fancy more, and let's actually meet. Let's see you, and let's have a real interaction. So should we go there?
Yeah, I think we're gonna the link is posted now, so everyone can jump into their preferred breakout room.
Perfect. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you with Locals. Thank you, Christina, and your organization. It was a real pleasure to have you both here. Thanks for your knowledge and experience. And I do hope that things will improve this summer and that we will all be able to enjoy our holidays, no matter what this type of holiday will look like or will be. Thank you very much. And see you in the breakout rooms. Bye.
See you in the breakout room. Bye.
Bye.